Well, hello, boys and girls, and parents, and guardians, and anyone else who is watching this video. You'll notice right off the bat that I'm not using an accent, or any voice, and it's mostly because I don't want any of the information to be confusing. This is already going to be a very complex lesson and very complex observation without having to concentrate on keeping a voice going. So, what we're looking at today is Jurassic Park. Now, I want to lay down a spoiler alert and a disclaimer. Spoiler alert, we will be talking about Jurassic Park, the series, and Jurassic World series. The disclaimer is, if you have not seen these movies, I think you really should. They're fantastic movies, but I will say, get your parents' permission first. That's only because I can't remember the ratings off the top of my head, and I'm not trying to get in trouble. I also don't want to recommend movies to people that they shouldn't be watching, but I watched these movies as a kid myself, and I loved them. Not just because of the cool practical effects of the dinosaurs. It's not CG, by the way. But because of also just because of the fact that it's dinosaurs, right? It's a scientific thing that a lot of kids find fascinating, and I found it fascinating, and I hope some of you find it fascinating. But we're not just going to be focusing on dinosaurs with this video. We're also going to be looking at food webs. Now, the whole basis of this video revolves around a fan theory. Now, before you turn off the video or get upset and say, Mr. Shoffit, you're not even talking about real stuff. Look, I get it. I understand. It's a fan theory, but it's based on science, and I think that it is probably one of the most profound, movie theories that I've heard in a good long while. Shout out to whoever made the theory. I can't remember his name. I read it on social media, I think, a long time ago, and I thought the idea of it was really cool. And it's something that I remembered and memorized just based off of knowing science myself, right? Knowledge is power. If you understand the way the world works and the way things work, you're just going to have a better time of working and interacting with things in the world. But I digress. Let's jump into it. First things first, we got to look at a little bit of background. So, let me just get rid of that. Oh, nope. All right. So, in the very first Jurassic Park movie, we are introduced to the island of Isla Nublar. Isla Nublar, or Isla Nublar, however you want to pronounce it, is one of two dinosaur islands. Now, these islands were populated with dinosaurs after scientists did some genetic experiments and found ways to bring them back to life. So they're not natural animals, but they are now living, breathing animals that are pretty true to their original genetics. So they are dinosaurs, right? Now, Isla Nublar was seen as the more tamed and navigable island, right? So that's the place that they put Jurassic Park on. And eventually, in the new series, they put Jurassic Park on the foundations of the original park. Now, this is really important because Isla Sorna was visited in the second two Jurassic Park movies and is never mentioned again. The fan theory, the person who wrote the fan theory, asked why. Why don't they just put all the endangered dinosaurs from Isla Nublar on Isla Sorna in the second Jurassic World movie? Why do they never mention Isla Sorna, really, in the Jurassic World movies? Why isn't it there? Why isn't that even something that they talk about? It was a pretty big deal in the Jurassic Park series, if you remember. Well, that's because of this little event that happened in Jurassic Park 3. The fan theory goes a little like this. A group of humans in the third movie accidentally led this Spinosaur to a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, the juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex had already killed an animal and was eating it, right? But it was not expecting to come face to face with a grown predator like the Spinosaur. Now, say what you want about the movie and your gripes with it. Scientists have since determined, an adult Tyrannosaurus would have mopped the floor with an adult Spinosaur. The Spinosaur's bones are hollow because it's used to swimming. If you can't tell right off the bat, it's got this really long beak-looking mouth to spear fish with, to help it catch fish. Tyrannosaur, on the other hand, is known for its bite force. It was like a great white shark in the fact that it would just kind of bite, and the force of its bite would tear off chunks of meat and then pound it into something that it could swallow. right? It's an animal. We've all seen documentaries of lions hunting gazelle. Same concept, but scale it up a little bit, right? Make it a little bigger. But the way the fan theory goes is when the Spinosaur meets the T-Rex, it kills the T-Rex because it's a baby, not a baby, but a juvenile T-Rex. It's a teenager versus an adult Spinosaur. Now, in the movie, this was just a passing scene. It was really cool. Looked really nice on camera. But scientifically speaking, this had profound effects on the ecosystem. So, what happens next? Well, imagine this. T-Rex hunts Triceratops and Brachiosaurs and other creatures, right? Spinosaur hunts fish. So not only have you taken a Spinosaur and put him in a different environment, but you have now also taken out another creature from that environment. What basically happened, the theory goes, is Spinosaur went and hunted fish in Tyrannosaur's territory because it became the Spinosaur's territory. These fish were not used to being hunted, and they were not able to adapt in time, so there's a good chance that a lot of these fish were hunted to near extinction. They became endangered, right? Therefore, the Spinosaurs would have been impacted as well, as their food source began to wean after it had eaten all of it. Meanwhile, the fish back home grew out of population. They overpopulated, right? Meaning resources had to be split. They didn't have as much food. They didn't have as much living space. They probably started eating their own eggs or started attacking other fish in the area. And eventually those fish would have also found themselves dying out, whether it was from starvation, overpopulation, disease, right? The craziest thing about this whole coronavirus thing is it was a predictable occurrence. This was something that people were afraid was going to happen, right? When you have overpopulation, when you have so many people stuck together, body to body almost, more people are going to start to get sick. And when those people start to get sick, it's going to be a lot easier to transfer the disease. That was the idea behind it. Well, apply it to Jurassic Park. All these fish that used to get hunted are no longer hunted. They're able to just repopulate, and then they start to die off. Sickness, they start to starve, they start to fight each other, right? They start to overpopulate, spill into other environments, take over those environments. Meanwhile, Triceratops and Brachiosaur and the other animals that the T-Rex hunted, they're doing the same thing those fish are doing. They're overpopulating. They don't have anything hunting them anymore. There is no big bad T-Rex out to get them. What happens is the ecosystem starts to fail, right? If you remember the lessons that I posted this past week about ecosystems, you will remember that it is a very fine balance in the ecosystem. There's a very fine line, right? It's almost like a teeter-totter, where if you wanted to, you could put two even weights on the sides and it would stay even, right? But you take off the T-Rex and the thing tilts. The thing falls, right? You got an even balance, and then you take one off and the other one falls off as well. That's what happens. At least that's what the fan theory rationalizes happened to Isla Sorna. The second dinosaur island failed. It was destroyed. Not destroyed in the sense of Isla Nublar, which actual volcano came up and started, killing dinosaurs. The dinosaurs all died because of a very sudden and violent change in the food web. Why is this important? Why am I telling you about this fictional movie? Well, because the idea that one small change in an ecosystem could ruin an entire habitat is not so far-fetched. This fan theory about Isla Sorna and how it's never mentioned again after Jurassic Park 3 isn't just a cool way to look at the movies, but it also has a great deal to do with science. What do I mean by that? Well, look at the gray wolf. Now, this is a very, very excellent example. The gray wolf was a very well-known species of wolf that lived in the United States. And if you can see on this map, this shows you historically the range of the gray wolf. It's about 2/3 of the U.S., and this is the area in orange that the gray wolf would have been able to populate, historically, back in the day, hundreds of years ago. This is the area that they would have inhabited. Now, as humans started to develop the land and as they started to make farms and all this other stuff, they began to get worried about these giant wolves that they kept seeing out in the woods, and they'd hear howling and all this other stuff. Basically, humans made the folly of saying, oh, these wolves are going to eat my animals. I should kill them before they kill my animals. And humans proceeded to hunt the gray wolf like a pest to near extinction. Now, it's a debatable topic. I'm not going to get into it, but let's just say the gray wolf was hunted to near extinction. It became endangered, and eventually it was only found in Yellowstone. Some conservationists found a bunch of gray wolves, and they moved them, relocated them to Yellowstone National Park. And for a good while, that's the only place that they could have lived. If you'd like to know where gray wolves are able to live now, well, all of that area in green is their habitat, right? Gray wolf habitat, places they could live, and where it's circled is the rough locations that you will find gray wolves. So here in this area is where Yellowstone National Park is. That is still a giant group of them here. They can be found in some of the Upper Peninsula, parts of Wisconsin. I think this is Montana. No, that's Montana. I don't know what that is. I'm not a geography buff. And then you can find some down here, and I believe that's either New Mexico or Utah. Now, again, why is this important? Oh, no, that's actually, this is Arizona, and that should be Utah or New Mexico. I'm not a geography buff, but you can definitely see the disparity. All this orange is where the gray wolf would have lived. All this green is where they can live now. And all of these circled black areas, the black outline, that's where they are found now. But I digress. Who cares? Well, just like the Tyrannosaurus, when you eliminate the gray wolves from the forest suffers. Not just the forest, but the deers that were hunted by the gray wolf. They begun to overpopulate. Not only do you have different diseases that deer can catch being mammals, but you've also got to take into account that these deer, they eat leaves, they eat bushes and other stuff. Bushes and shrubs that mice, vole, woodchucks, badgers, rabbits, right? All these different small critters live in. Their homes are going to start to get eaten by all of these deers that are overpopulating, right? Say there are 100,000 deer and there are 5,000 wolves. The 5,000 wolves manage to eat enough of the deer that it controls that population, right? It's a cycle. It's a very finely balanced equation. Take out all the gray wolves, hunt them to near extinction. Well, now you've got 200,000 deer because there are no gray wolves, and those 200,000 deer are going to eat twice as much as the 100,000 deer. Bye-bye habitat for mice, vole, and rabbits. And if they leave, well, the birds of prey who live in that area as well, different hawks, eagles, falcons, well, they've just lost their food source too. So they've either got to relocate or they're going to starve and die, right? All these different animals are affected by the gray wolf not living in that area. The gray wolf might not eat the mice or the birds, but his absence definitely impacts their way of life. This is all super important because this is a real example, right? You can say what you want about the Spinosaur killing the T-Rex and all that stuff being fake. This is real. This is something that happened. You can find the gray wolf nowadays, but there was a time when people were really worried that they would all die out. All of these animals, all of these different factors in the equation help balance it out, help it make sense, right? If I asked you what 5 plus 6 plus 7 was, you would say 5 plus 6 is 11 plus 7 is 18. You're not going to get 21 because there's no other number there, right? But if I told you that 5 plus 6 plus 7 equals 21, and I just eliminated the 3, it wouldn't make sense, right? It just wouldn't make sense. That's not the equation. That's not what I asked you to do. With this, we've got the balanced equation. We've got 5 plus 7 plus 6 plus 3. It all equals 21. We're not taking stuff out. I really hope that example made sense because it made sense in my head. And now that I'm saying it, it just doesn't seem like it. I'm also going to say right here, I'm not going to edit this video. I really just wanted to get this done. It's a very important video, and editing just seemed like such a pain. This whole lesson is super important, right? Just to give you an example of what could happen, look at this little trail. On the left here, you've got forests, untouched, basically. On here, you've got little open fields. Oops. And you can see some of these trees are dead. The area looks picked clean. This is... I Googled deforestation, but this is what we could be looking at if we had eliminated the gray wolf. The deer, which overpopulated, would have eaten this entire forest's worth of green. I gotta stop clicking the picture. And it would have dried up like this. And they would have moved into this part of the forest, and they would have kept going and just eating and eating and eating, because that's what animals do, right? Animals don't have the ability to think and pick up hobbies. Animals live, right? And when we get in the way, when we start to interfere and we stop animals from living, it's going to impact things in a very significant way. So, back on topic, we're almost done. Bear with me. What all this means is that food webs are very complex and very finely balanced structures, right? Even the smallest change can have dramatic impacts on the ecosystem, right? If the mice from above, if these mice and rabbits suddenly just died off to a disease, this falcon can no longer hunt them, and it has to either move on or it dies. Why is that important? Well, because the falcon, all birds actually, because of their ability of flight, when they kill animals, when they swoop in and brush past trees, they're picking up pollen, they're picking up seeds, they're picking up different resources. And when they fly around, they transport those resources to different areas. Believe it or not, that's how that happens. They'll drop dead animals who have seeds in their stomach, and those seeds will grow into trees. Take away the small animals with the seeds in their stomach, and then you got to take away the birds. And then you don't have mice or birds in that area, and the forest might start to die because it no longer has trees to replenish the old trees that are dying, right? There are so many different factors to this equation. That's why I say it's very complex and a very finely balanced equation, a very finely balanced structure, right? What we need to do as a collective people, not just individuals. Individuals help, right? Every step in the right direction counts. But what we need to do as people is we need to start to ask ourselves how we can help stop this sudden and irreparable damage that is being done to the ecosystems. Not just for, our sake or, other people's sake, but for our children's sake, for our children's sake, right? And their children's sake, for our families and for other people's families. The world is so beautiful, right? Trees, clouds, blue skies, birds chirping. It's so pristine. But it is very slowly being degraded and deteriorated by these small things that we're doing, like cutting down swaths of trees to make ways for farmland so that we can grow more cows for our beef patties. There are so many different things, and I'm not gonna preach to you anymore. That I understand. It's a very hotly debated topic, but what all this is supposed to mean is we need to try and do better as people. I need to do better. You might want to try and do better. My friends need to try better. My family needs to try better. What we need to do is start thinking of ways that we can start or stop having such profound effects on our ecosystem. And it's not just humans. Things happen, natural disasters. But just to have these thoughts in our head, to have these constant questions of what can I be doing to help? What can I be doing differently to stop? Right? You hear about turning off the lights and, recycling and turning off the water when you're washing your hands or brushing your teeth. There's more to it than that. There are very real questions. And maybe some of you would like to grow up and be scientists who study the effects that people are having on ecosystems, who actually are able to come up with answers and solutions, real answers and solutions, not just the top of the head answers Mr. Shuffett's coming up with on the fly, right? This is all just a way for me to try and educate you and show you the different ways that ecosystems can be impacted by small little changes. And that's all there is to it. That's all I really wanted from this lesson was to show you how complex food webs are, to give you an example of some food webs, right? You saw them in there. I discussed them very briefly. And to explain what happens when you change food webs in a drastic way, fictionally or realistically. So I really hope this video was useful. I'm just going to upload the whole thing unedited, and in future videos, or I guess on this video, for future videos, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I apologize for all the pauses and the length. I also would love to hear new recommendations for voices that you'd like to hear me do, different ideas of things that I can be doing for my videos, and any other feedback that you have for me. Other than that, I really hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and you take care of yourself. All right, health is wealth, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.